Welcome back, Red Spotters, and you're here in the Red Spotlight Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Soto, joined today by Alexis Moreno. We had intended for other guests to be here, but unfortunately, Alexis and I are going to be holding down the fort, and I don't like her very much, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kidding, of course. I'm so happy that she's here.
I'm the last resort.
You're the last resort. Let's be real here. But you're a good resort either way because, you know, you're part of the team and everything, right? That wasn't passive aggressive. I'm kidding. Guys, I'm kidding. You know how much we value Alexis here. We have a stacked show. This will be one of the most important programs that we've done in terms of what we're discussing as far as covering the film industry. So much has happened, and we were hoping that we could get Peter to be on this show, but unfortunately there were scheduling conflicts at the moment, so we'll have to wait for him whenever he comes back. But just to give you a taste of what we're talking about today, a deal with AMC Theaters and Universal, Mulan heading to Disney Plus, the end of the Paramount Consent Decrees, Disney killing physical media, endless trouble for HBO Max, The Mandalorian getting 15 Emmy nominations. Let me cut my wrists real quick and then I'll get back to the... Okay. Captain Marvel gets a new director and... yeah. And this is Red Spotlight number 259. So, before we start off with all of these... I'm gonna be, real with you guys. There's a lot of detail when it comes to these stories, specifically the first three. But before we get into that, we'd like to ease our way into those topics, and let's catch up with Moreno and I. And do we have anything new for what we bought this week?
I think so, because I don't think I mentioned it in the last one. I think we talked about it, but we weren't recording.
All right, let's do it.
Which was when I bought the movies. But, I mean, I don't know if you want me to mention it now, or we can talk about it when the subject comes up later on.
We can kill two birds with one stone right now. So okay. Let me just get this out of the way with, we have sources. We don't have sources. We're nobody. There are sources on the internet that are saying that Disney is going to stop the manufacturing of 4K physical media home release discs for films that are not necessarily, at least any future that's not
the foreseen future. For
the foreseen future, when it comes to, however, when it comes to Star Wars, Marvel, or Pixar, they may be the only exceptions where they could do it, but the manufacturing of those discs has basically ceased where any other Disney-related item, and that would include the remainder of Fox and Fox Searchlight, which they're doing nothing with, it seems like, so yay. So that's kind of what happened, and the theme with this show is that we're losing a lot of established entities. And that's kind of the evolving nature of the film industry. We know that physical media has been on the decline, and we've called Disney Plus a physical media killer. Basically, is what it is. So, Alexis, tell us what happened to you.
You okay?
I'm fine. Go ahead.
Basically, yeah, there was a lot of people saying that this is going to be a thing, which, for the time being, it makes sense. It's sad and I hate it, but it makes sense, And so my brother and I have been collecting the, not just Disney movies, like a lot of movies in general, but I wanted to get all of the Disney movies, the steelbooks from Best Buy. And so, reading the headlines or whatever, I'm like, oh, I need to go. I haven't bought one in a while. And so, I went, and as I was looking, me and my brother were looking, they started selling out. Which is nuts. And so, I was only able to get, Up.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one? Mary Poppins Returns.
Mm.
And they were actually having a pre-sale for Hocus Pocus. So I got that one.
Okay.
But yeah, like there was Bugs Life, both Monsters movies, Onward, I can't even remember what else, but like those are the movies I was about to get, and I was about to click it. They sold out.
You were about to click buy, and this shit happened. Yeah, it seems like you weren't the only one that had that idea.
I guess. Because
they weren't. I mean, they've been out for a while. I mean, one of the things that made this revelation of Disney stopping manufacturing of these discs pretty obvious last year is they did something pretty unprecedented. Disney loves to milk the home media releases. They have a whole history of that. And they delay the release of certain films throughout, I would think, the course of a decade. Last year was pretty bizarre in that they pretty much dropped every major title when it came to Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars, and pretty much anything in 4K in steelbooks. The only animated movies that are in 4K that Disney has bothered to release in 4K, even including the versions that you have on Disney Plus, are only from Little Mermaid and up. They don't have any version 4K available, I mean Ultra HD available for any of the classic animated movies, which is stunning. You'd think they would have a version of that somewhere, but I think part of their strategy is to just stop the release of any kind of discs. That being the case, I think it would be pretty cool if you just did you do have a 4K rescan of these movies somewhere. Put them on Disney Plus. You don't have to manufacture them for discs, just put it on there. I'd love to see that. Because that's what happened with Sleeping Beauty. When they rescale these movies 10 years ago for HD, they rescaled them for 4K, for Ultra HD. But the technology didn't exist then to produce 4K discs. So the next best thing was 1080p. So that is was a little bit of a rant. Like, I don't know why they don't just drop those classic animated movies in that resolution, considering all that they have, but whatever. So what was unusual was that all of the major titles got re-releases very quickly, specifically with Best Buy, the partnership with the Steelbooks. And a lot of us did go out of our way to, I would say all of us are fans of physical media. We just love holding things. We love that analog nature of it. It kind of reminds us of our early years, and we used to collect movies. We always have, all of us, Peter, Alexis, and David, and Kyle. And I know that I went out of my way to get as many of the Marvel Steelbooks as possible. I wanted to beef up that physical media collection with Marvel. And David was buying a lot of the Disney animated ones. Yeah.
I mean, us, when we were little, we had all of them on VHS. And then my mom gave them away. And for a long time, I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay, we need to stop this right here. I have the same problem with my parents. I don't know if it's a generational thing or if it's like a racial thing. Because,
I don't know. Literally the other day, I went up to my mom and I'm like, I don't understand why you gave away our VHSs. Do you know how much an Aladdin VHS is going for?
Do you know how stupid that was to do? You just gave shit away. It's like, but I don't know if it's like a racial thing, if it's a generational thing, or if it's a mom thing. Or
I don't know.
Or if it's a combination of all three. I had the exact same conversation with my mom. It's like, why do you just throw things away? Why do you just give things away? In particular, things that don't belong to you.
Exactly. She keeps literally my garage just full of her stuff. My mom is like a legit hoarder.
Yeah.
But she gives away our stuff.
Yeah. Like, because she doesn't want to get rid of her stuff.
What are you doing? But yeah, so that was, and then she gave him away like a long time ago, like pre 2010. Like I don't remember how long ago it was. And so for a long time, I actually didn't have a lot of movies. The only movies that I had, I can name them all, are Godzilla, the one with Matthew Broderick, Incredibles, Princess Diaries 2, and I had The Little Mermaid, and what was it? Passion of the Christ. I don't know why. So for a long time, those were like our only movies. And then up until maybe like 5 years ago, that's when I kind of started buying them again.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, it wasn't like Blu-ray or anything. It was just like if I found one, like I would get it. And then David, he's the one that like fully went and was like, no, like I'm gonna start a collection again.
Yeah, I really have a problem with people giving away things that don't belong to them. And I speak to that because I feel like I've been victimized by that time and time again, and it always irritates me. Oh my God, that infuriates me. It's not even like you were gonna sell it. Like, it's just a prized collection. There was so much time put into that. Like, oh my God, I just feel so fucking disappointed. Like, that is disgusting. But yeah, David got a lot of the steelbooks, and they were really cool designs. The steelbooks. I think he bought Zootopia, Entangled, and Big Hero 6.
I mean, I can show you later, but we have a good amount.
That's good. Yeah. A good collection's good. We're gonna have to start like saving them now because I know they're gonna go away. Like, my room is nothing but physical media. Like, I have no more room on my shelf over there, but I may not need it. I mean, as in the direction that things are going, like, because of the pandemic, I probably would have gone to Best Buy and, purchased the steelbook or whatever of Onward. It just didn't occur to me because it just didn't seem smart, so I just bought it digitally. Invisible Man, I love that movie. Bought it digitally.
Ooh, the steelbook for that one is nice.
Yeah, I haven't even seen it because it hurts too much. Like, I've already paid for it. I don't know. I just feel like part of me is like just trying to rip the Band-Aid off and get with the program. But because it's just like there's no fighting it. I mean, we may get to a point where some manufacturers, I know that Disney and WB are teaming up to do some kind of a preservation thing to still release manufactured discs for home releases, but that's like, one of those things you do before that it's on its very last leg. So, yeah, it's funny, right? Because, the times change. Right now, vinyl is back and strong in a way that it hadn't been for a generation, pretty much.
Yeah. We
were just watching Zootopia, the audio commentary, which is live right now on the channel for your Fantasy Fair feed. And Nick Wilde is laughing at someone who still uses CDs. I mean, we're away from CDs, but vinyl is back now. So maybe in some way, at least with major releases, there'll come a time where one supplier or two still releases them, but in a very limited. Yeah. Because instead of like having like 4 rows, if that, at a Target or a Walmart, it'll be like one corner of a row at one point. Because everything will just be available on a streaming service or to purchase digitally through iTunes or Amazon or Vudu, what have you. If they even exist at that point, because the volatile nature of this industry is changing so fast and so quickly. We thought that the last 10 years was a massive shift. 2020 feels like we skipped 10 years in the future because of this pandemic and how fast things are changing. And we may be seeing physical media go away a lot faster than we had previously expected it to be.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
But good luck. I hope you find Monsters University and Bugs Life. I saw they were actually pretty pretty. The designs for those steelbooks.
I know. I'm so sad.
They're available on eBay.
David.
They're on eBay, but you got to pay like $100 for them at this point.
I literally told David, I was like, who buys Monsters University? Nobody likes that movie.
We like the movie. You and I like the movie.
Yeah, but like the usual crowd.
Yeah. The consensus is it was okay. From most people, you know. And yeah. I mean, for me, as far as like what I bought this week, not really much of anything. I just had stuff come in. So, I mean, just recently I ordered like this. It's not for my room. It's for like my mom particularly. Mm-hmm. I haven't decided if it's a birthday, Mother's Day, anniversary gift. I'll just say it's all three, just to get out of the way with. I just haven't been able to like buy her anything. Like I don't get her something unless I know she'll like it, and there's not many things that I was able to get her considering we were in a pandemic. So I got her this really nice frame set, which is like 9 big frames to put in the living room, I think. And we're gonna do like a family portrait kind of thing, or collect a bunch of photos of the family and put them on display as people do in their homes, which we've never really done. At least modern photos. We have like, there's portraits of her when she was getting married, and I'm like, wow, we need to get a more updated family portrait, it seems. So yeah, they're really nice. And as far as like for what I got for myself, I just got some last minute deliveries. I finally got that Endgame poster I was expecting. Into the Spider-Verse got here. And yeah, like I think I'm done when it comes to my room. As far as like, it's been a project that I started, I think, in early June. And now here we are 2 months later, and I think we're finally at a point where I'm ready to stop buying things. I think I am, because I'm pretty happy with how everything looks. Like I liked how it looked before, but I feel like I needed to throw myself into like a project. And I feel like this happens like once a year where I'm like, all right, I'm tired of this look. I want to like change it up. And literally I feel like every wall moved around. I need to start doing before and after photos. Although some I do have from older versions of it. There was this one photo I saw that had this room with just completely empty walls. And it's crazy. I know the last time that you were here, which was like December 30th, I think, last time. And that was the first time you'd been in this room in like years. And you were like, wow, like what happened with all this? Like there's a lot of stuff in here. Okay, we had a little bit of a delay there. But yeah. Overall, that's where we are with what we bought this week. Let's go ahead into what we saw this week. A lot of stuff, actually. I've seen a lot of things. I just finished watching the first 7 episodes of Korra, The Legend of Korra. Ooh. Of course, we'll talk about that more in depth with the Legend of Korra series, which will be starting in late August, I feel. I'm sure Kyle and Peter have already like gotten through it, so I'm like the last person. It just dropped on Netflix, actually, so that's why I'm actually quite liking it, you know?
It's I just think that like it's not as, I mean, I don't even think that like Last Airbender is like all happy. It's just like Aang is such a positive person, but like the tone in this one is much more serious, and I think that's what people don't like about it, because you know, but like first of all, Korra is a completely different person than Aang was. She's older. She, you know, I don't know. She just goes through like, I mean, they both go through shit, but like, I don't know.
One of the things that we'll be discussing with Korra, and I imagine particularly maybe in all of the installments, is this very unfair shake that initial first female leads in a franchise get by its own fan base. When this franchise originated, any franchise, name whatever one you want, Star Wars, Marvel, Avatar, it begins with a male lead, as you do, right? That's kind of how things usually go. And then at some point, we have to give the girl, her story, right? Her due, because it's only right. But every time that happens, there is such strange rage from large fragments of the fan base and just people in general. And they perpetuate in many of these cases that if it's female-led, it's inherently worse. And of course that argument is sexist, and they would get pissed. I don't know why they get pissed when they get called sexist when they really are. They just look at how they talk about this. But in particular with Korra, I'll save those thoughts. I'm not going to get into it now. But overall, I'm finding it very much enjoyable. It's going to be
interesting. I'm excited to talk about it because I feel like this one has a lot of controversy, whereas The Last Airbender, everybody just generally
controversy in some cases where I don't think there needs to be controversy. The fact that she's a female lead, I feel, drives a lot of the rage, and that's disgusting and unnecessary. It's like saying, right now when, the president is cutting the funding for the post office, that's controversial. No, that's disgusting and that's tyrannical, and he's trying to steal the election. Call it that. Don't call it controversial. Sorry, got a little off track there. I also saw the series finale for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Me too.
Yeah, David and I will be talking about on this show. I think we were talking about it. We were texting each other when it was airing on TV, and I told him when it was over, and I think he felt the same way. It just didn't feel real. That kind of sense of denial that you get sometimes, when something is over, but it doesn't feel like it's over just yet, and you're waiting for it to kind of hit you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of in that space right now.
Yeah.
I've been kind of immersing myself with a lot of beautiful articles and videos that have come out from outlets that have interviewed the producers, the writers, and the actors. I just saw a video today about the final table read for the last script. And it's all pretty heavy stuff. And I feel they're going to have a lot of positive stuff about this finale. I really felt that they were able to wrap everything up in a way that fans that have been watching for a long time are happy with it. What is interesting, though, is, and I've noticed this the last few years, the fandom for S.H.I.E.L.D. has gotten a little bit out of control, in my view, when it comes to being overly critical, and you're judging, I think, the overall quality of a show based on how your fandom, your ship endgame thing is going. And a lot of the Felinda people, the Phil Coulson, Melinda May shipping people, I can understand being a little miffed in terms of how that thing ended, kind of. But I feel like it's overly done, the outrage I've seen from some people that, how dare you not make them a couple and shit like that, and you ruined the show and you ruined the ending, and I never understood that. I like ships and everything, I think they're cool, but to me, part of the negative connotation with shipping couples in a TV show is when they inevitably don't end the way that you want them to.
Mm-hmm. So you have to take it out on the entire show.
Yeah. And I've been seeing, and I noticed that one critic that reviews the show was tweeting that some of these people were adding and tagging the writers and attacking them for writing it that way. And I'm like, I don't know what happened with the fandom. It used to be so positive. There's a reason why I connected with this fandom, because there was never any of that bullshit. And then like towards season 5, things started to get out of control, I feel. When it can, and it ain't just to fill into people. There are some people that are like, I don't know, are you really a fan of this show? Because you seem like, I mean, it's okay to be critical. We've been critical of the show, but I think it's getting lost somewhere in some kind of a hatred thing when it came to that. I don't know. That's why I always like rolled my eyes and Kyle would like ship Hooked Queen or whatever that shit was in Once Upon a Time. I'm like, that's not gonna happen. And of course it pissed him off that it didn't happen, and he never really let go of that. Ask him to this day. He still ships that, which I never really understood, to be honest with you. You know, Captain Swan's pretty okay.
Yeah.
Last I checked, you know? So I don't really get it.
I feel like watching that show again, though.
Me
it's
too.
Just like the beginning.
The beginning.
Yeah.
I feel like...
Because the first season is so good.
It is. And you know, like, I feel like I liked the series finale. I saw, I think, the ending of it with Regina.
I bawled.
Yeah. I love Regina, so I was happy that she got that ending. But, like, to me, even though I enjoyed... I think I enjoyed season 4. Most of it, anyway. I feel like the show really... creatively anyway, like, should have ended at season 3. Like, those first 3 seasons were, like, really good. Yeah. Like, really good. And I think they could have done more, but it kind of got lost in itself, I feel. Mm-hmm. It really overindulged in a lot of the same storylines. I don't know, we should do a show talking about Once Upon a Time. Like, that, I think, deserves its own podcast, because I like it. You know, like, I really liked that show. It was one of the first shows that I got into. It was a summer where I would watch S.H.I.E.L.D., Once Upon a Time, The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad. Unfortunately, some of these shows didn't end all that well, like Walking Dead and Once Upon a Time.
That's still going.
It ended for me. It ended for me. I refuse to watch. That's kind of how I feel about it. But with S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm just happy that overwhelmingly the response is positive. I'm very happy with that. I thought it was pretty much pitch perfect, and it's not been a good couple years for finales. It really hasn't.
Yeah.
And to be clear, like with the Game of Thrones thing, I would have been cool with it if they had taken more time to develop that. Because it felt like, I know that the Daenerys thing, a lot of, like, you think it was set up a long time ago. I would have liked to have had more of, like, a reason for why all of a sudden she just, like, you know, all right, I'm going to be a tyrannical bitch now, and I'm going to, like, be super Hitler, literally burning people as that happens. And then the fact that it was Bran and, I mean, we don't need to relitigate the whole Game of Thrones thing. I just want to, like, make sure, like, the ending that they had could have worked a lot better if the writers weren't trying to, like, get out of there and go to Star Wars, which, look, that didn't happen, did it? So, or their Confederate show that never will happen now. They're going to do this weird, they were developing a show for HBO about what America would look like if the Confederacy had won in the Civil War.
Okay.
It's probably not the best time. Nobody wanted that show, and it got completely...
Well, isn't there a show on AMC? I heard it's really good, and it's what is it called?
The Badlands?
Huh?
The Badlands? Into the Badlands?
No. It's a show, and it's what if, like, Hitler won?
I know what you're talking about now. Is it AMC? Highlander?
I don't remember. It's something high. Something with high.
We're all high at this point. I don't know. I thought it was Amazon.
Oh, it might be Amazon. Or it might be both. I don't know. One of those. But yeah, there's a show like that. I heard it's really good. But I feel like it's not the same.
Well, it's because the Confederacy hits harder, I feel like. I mean, there's a lot of neo-fascist, well, not neo-fascist, just fascist villains in cinematic history. Look at the Empire, the First Order. So I think we're far more used to Nazis being a Nazi ideology just being infused in any project, but with the Confederacy, it ain't the right time for that, especially when we have a racist in the White House. Let's just be real about that. Oh, and Schitt's Creek. Which is created by the father-son duo Eugene Levy and Dan Levy. This show is kind of everything I love about television. And it is, of course, a very loud and proud comedy. It is my kind of comedy. It has these characters that are larger than life and yet are grounded in humanity and realism. The premise of this show is this family of four, very rich, high-class people lose all their money, and they're forced to go live in a town that is so small it makes Brawley look like, I don't know, Los Angeles. And they live in a motel. And already you have a great premise for a lot of great comedy to have. But what I think really sells the show to me is it is basically a show about love, the lack of love, and then finding it. It is the kind of heartwarming pleasure that I've been seeking for a while. And especially in this pandemic, it is so wonderful. You see these characters grow over the course of 6 seasons as people into something that they've always wanted to be, but never could be because of the luxury that they had as a household. It is brilliant characterization. It's the kind of comedy where you see your characters grow over the course of the seasons, not one where like things stay stagnant and they stay the same and we're going and like, oh, we're just going through the motions. No. It is such a delightful show. Like, I'm so obsessed with this, and I only wish like I had waited to start this show until like after S.H.I.E.L.D. because I already had one series finale this week, and I'm practically already at the series finale of Schitt's Creek. So I watched the first 5 seasons on Netflix pretty quickly, and I'm watching season 6 on Pop TV, which is where it aired. And it got nominated for Best Comedy, and all the 4 leads were nominated for Best Comedy Performances. Eugene Levy, Dan Levy, and so on and so forth. So it is very well liked. It only kind of blew up these last 2 years, I feel, because Netflix put it on there. Maybe the last year or so. Because I don't remember it being on Netflix all that long. Maybe it's just me. And I'm so happy that I waited to, like, this is the perfect show to binge. It's not the show where, like, you want to wait 6 years and you wait week to week. Like, it is a perfect show to binge. I love it. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably going to reschedule, like, a rewatch, but there's so many that I want to, like, watch for the first time and rewatch. So, like, right now, I'm all about trying to get together as much feel-good, heartwarming content as possible. So the next thing, right now I basically started Korra, but I really want to watch Good Place. Mm-hmm. I really want to rewatch Parks and Rec and New Girl, and I also need to watch the other 2 seasons of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So and maybe even do Miss Maisel. I don't know. A lot of people love that show, and it seems like right up my alley too. So I don't know. Like Miss Maisel, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh my God! You didn't watch it.
So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Schitt's Creek it's just so good. It's so made for me. Peter, he doesn't really have a heart, so I don't think it's for him. There's no major death. There's no depression going. Well, there is kind of a little bit of depression, but you know, it is what it is. To quote the president of the United States. Oh, by the way, we should mention 167,000 dead now. So thank you, President Trump, as always. We want to, mention that. So I should ask you, did you see anything this week?
What did I watch? Well, I watched X-Men because it's on Disney Plus. I watched
Zootopia. We saw Zootopia this week with audio commentary.
Yeah.
I saw it again after the commentary.
Oh, really?
Just because I hadn't seen it for a while. Oh my god, that movie's so good. That movie is so good. Listen to our commentary. At least I thought it was a good commentary.
What else did I watch? I watched
Howard. I saw Howard on Disney Plus.
And The Boys, which, oh my god, I cried so much. They're both so good.
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited for you to watch The Boys because I feel like they mentioned a lot of things that I didn't know. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, Howard was so good, and we'll do a full review for it on Fantasy Fair when Kyle comes back, and The Boys as well, to be clear. Howard, I learned a lot about him in the first hour. A lot of the stuff in the second hour, I'm like, well, I've already seen this, but it's nice to review that. Those closing moments, and I think the last person to speak was Alan Menken, and he's like literally breaking down.
Yeah.
That was so fucking emotional. It really was. I mean, the whole thing was, really.
Yeah, like the part where they kind of relate his story to the Beauty and the Beast thing, I was like,
yeah. Oh my god. We need to save that. We need to save that for Fantasy Fair, but it blew my mind because I'm like, I never put that together. I don't know why I never put that together.
I was like, and I think I want to say it was that one. But, like, when they mentioned that, David walked away for that whole line, and then he walked back as soon as they were done, and I was like, did you hear that? And he was like, no, and I was like, what do you mean? That's the best line in the whole thing! It's so good. And then The Boys, I mean, it's just, their life is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And to be clear for our listeners, talking about the Sherman Brothers at Disney.
Yeah. And just like their relationship is nuts. And yeah, like I said, it was just a lot of things that I actually didn't know, which is nice for somebody who does know a lot about these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool. I don't think I watched anything else. Every morning whenever I get up, I like put on Disney Plus and I'll just put like a random Disney movie, and I'll let it play in the background. But like, that's it basically.
Yeah, that all works. Is that it for what you watched this week?
Yeah.
Okay, shall we get to this news? It's a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, strap yourselves in. This is going to be a lot of information, but here we are. Again, I want to note pretty significant developments when it comes to this film industry. And in particular, the theme across all of these stories, as we mentioned, with the possibility of losing physical media a lot sooner than we had anticipated, you're going to see a similar situation going on, at least with small independent movie theaters. And why I feel like this is kind of like a TKO when you put the dominoes all together. So we start off with AMC Theaters and Universal strike a deal allowing new films to debut at home sooner by dramatically shortening the theatrical window. So as we had covered earlier this year, AMC had threatened Universal by not showing their movies because Universal all of a sudden announced that, some movies will release in theaters, at the same time, we'll also have a VOD release for people that want to watch it at home. And AMC was like, fuck you. And it seems as if that is no more. And they have a pretty comprehensive deal that no one seems to like but them. So let me go ahead and read off what they said. So AMC will show Universal films in theaters. The deal shortens the theatrical window. To be clear, the theatrical window is however many weeks or months a movie is contracted or slated to play in a movie theater. And typically that's 3 months. So it shortens it from 3 months to just 17 days. Where Universal, if they choose to, can then make them available on premium VOD. So for example, if Furious 9, after the 17 days, Universal can at any point decide, you know what, we'll keep the movie playing in theaters, but we can also now put it on VOD 17 days after, for a rental, 17 days after it being in theaters. That film, however, cannot directly, and this is key, go to a streaming service. It must remain on PVOD for a traditional 3-month window of sorts. So it can't go to HBO Max or whatever, I guess Universal has Peacock. It can't go to Peacock directly. It has to go directly to rental on iTunes, Amazon, what have you. AMC Theaters will get 10% of the cut of Universal's PVOD rental revenue. So however much money they make from, let's say it makes on iTunes, not only will Universal split up that money with iTunes, because of course they get a cut, they're the retailer, but now also 10% of that will go to AMC. I have some more stuff here in terms of how the world has responded to this. So the CEO of Cineworld, which owns Regal, says, "We do not see any business sense in this model," quote unquote. Cinemark calls this, quote unquote, overly aggressive, shortened theatrical window and warns of an adverse impact. The Independent Cinema Alliance says, as with any crisis, industry-changing negotiations during the coronavirus pandemic should be about long-term goals that truly preserve and enhance the theatrical experience and not be driven by panicked decisions in search of immediate short-term security.
Yes.
Not me. Now, this deal only applies in North America. It has not been established overseas. It is quoted as a multi-year agreement. We don't know the number of that. And AMC Theaters has gone so bold as to offer similar deals to both Disney and Warner Brothers, in which I don't think they realize that that's not at all what they're interested in. So yeah, a lot to unpack here. You know? Any initial thoughts on this?
They're ridiculous. I don't like.
Wow.
And they agreed?
I know.
I don't.
This is less an agreement and more of a hostile takeover.
It was basically either this or nothing, right?
I don't want to put it that way, because they could have very well have said that. I mean, I don't know. It can't be real. Universal said, we're not going to play by your rules anymore. And if we want to have a movie out on home release and theaters, that's our business, not yours. I think AMC should have just stood their ground. Because I don't think they would have. They should have just called out their bluff. Well, AMC called out their bluff, basically, but AMC should have stood firm, because AMC is the largest theater chain in the States. Universal cannot afford to not have its movies play at AMC. It literally would lose money. It would damage all of their films. It would damage their business model. If AMC literally did nothing, I feel that would be a much better position than they're in right now. But it seems very much like they just caved because they don't know what the fuck to do anymore. They called out some debts, and they're going to be able to stay open until the early part of 2021 now. But they don't know what to do afterwards. And they don't want to declare bankruptcy. And it just seemed as if they went to Universal and they said, you know what? We cave. They acted like Democrats pretty much. And we'll just take whatever you give us, and we still lose. Because this deal doesn't make any sense, right? Like this, there's no business sense if you're a movie theater for that, especially if you're AMC. Like they want to, it's like they're deluding themselves into thinking that this is how we stay in business. This is how we go forward. I mean, from a money perspective, I don't understand that. Because even if you do get 10% of the cut from whatever VOD money you do get, you're losing 3 months that a big movie would be in your theater, and you're only gonna take the first 17 days. Now, yes, a movie makes the most of its money in the first 17 days. However, as many negotiations are established between the studios and the theaters, the studio gets more of the money for however much it makes in the first couple of weeks. And then as the movie makes more toward the end of its theatrical run, it usually ends up with it being closer to a 50-50 split with the theater. So, like, in every way imaginable, I don't see how you can paint this as AMC getting screwed over.
Yeah.
And what's, I think, even more surprising is the fact that no one else is buying this shit. Like, they just completely were, fuck off, we're not doing this. And, you know, Universal and AMC can do whatever they want. But Cinemark and Regal were like, no thank you.
No.
And and not even just the theaters. Disney and Warner Brothers have been silent on the matter. We'll have a story where Disney went their own direction with a certain movie. But for the most part, this doesn't make any sense for anybody involved, especially Disney. They believe in the theatrical experience because they make most of the money from the theatrical experience, and they have a stake in seeing that continue. So I don't think at all Disney were fans of this whatsoever, as Warner Brothers, because clearly they were very disappointed with how Scoob performed on PVOD to begin with, and HBO Max is cratering. So Universal is owned by Comcast, which is a telecommunications conglomerate, and also evil. It is a pretty terrible corporation. And it seems to me they have decided themselves that they're going to go ahead and destroy the theatrical experience. That's just what they've decided to do, because every move they've made since this pandemic has been to basically stab theater owners in the eyes, not the back, the eyes. It is interesting though, and I wonder, however, it's not all good news for Universal. I wonder if they shot themselves in the foot when they agreed that they couldn't have that movie go directly to Peacock. Peacock has done well in the fact that it's gotten 10 million subscribers, which is far better than HBO Max has done. And like, that's horrible for HBO Max, by the way. You're really cratering. But the fact that they can't have what Disney is now going to have, where they can promote their streaming service and make money at the same time off this movie. Yeah. So Disney kind of one-upped them on that. I'm like, fuck you, in that situation. This is just It's unfortunate, and to be honest with you, I feel like AMC is making every wrong decision, and they've just had a series of headlines where I honestly prefer them going bankrupt, clearing out this leadership, and then having someone like Amazon just come along.
Taking over.
Yeah, and getting... Yeah.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, let me be real here. I'm not in favor of any merger. I'm not in favor of any acquisition. I would hope that AMC can steer its way out of this direction. But I think it's clear that this leadership needs to be replaced because they don't know what to do and they're doing everything wrong. Like, it was a public relations disaster with the fact that they initially were not going to require masks.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that it wasn't so much the public pressure that changed their minds, it was Disney. They called them and they said, no. Just flat out, no. You're changing this. And that's what happened.
Nice.
And they even gave an interview in the last 2 weeks where they're like, we're fine with Disney doing whatever they want. Disney has no bigger friend than us. And whatever. So it seems as maybe it may just be up to Disney to put them in line because I don't think the leadership at AMC understands what to do at all.
Well,
and they're consistent.
Yeah. Oh no, I think they took it out. But wasn't there an AMC in downtown Disney?
It was, and now it's gone.
Interesting.
It's gone. I mean, we're going to have a discussion in one of the stories about the potential acquisition of theaters by studios, but
I don't like that.
Of course not. Because a lot of reasons, but we'll get to that. But for this particular deal, I'm curious to see how long it lasts. I really do, because I don't know. I feel like for what Universal was trying to do, it's in like a win-win situation. Although it probably would have been better if they just had thought of the idea of, well, why don't we just put it on Peacock instead? So there's that. But it's just a lose-lose for AMC. I'm just, with AMC Theaters, I'm just so disillusioned with them. Let me be clear. I'm not advocating for them. I'm not advocating for them to get like acquired by anybody else. I don't want that. I don't want these big fucking mergers. But everything they're doing, and it even crosses a line when they're putting the safety of its own customers at risk.
Mm-hmm.
Again and again and again. So yeah, I'm not really sympathetic for them any longer, and I'm glad that Regal and Cinemark are like, fuck off, we're not doing that shit. So
honestly, I mean, this has nothing to do with it, but I feel like all of these theaters missed the mark when it's been 6 months into this pandemic, mm-hmm. and they have not done drive-in theaters. Like,
yeah.
There's nothing. First of all, you don't need as many workers, so you're saving money there. It's like what 1 or 2 theaters, but like with a lot of people, and you're selling your food. Like, it just makes sense. I don't understand why they're not. In a perfect
world, which we have never lived in and never will, it seems like, that would have been the case where we would have put egos aside and competition aside and work together to save the industry overall, to save movie theaters. That would have been, I think the smart thing to do is to say, hey, we're fucked. We need to stay together. But instead what has transpired is everyone is knifing each other on the way as the boat, tips over basically. And that's kind of what's happened. Everybody for themselves, which is the attitude that this economy, that this country, this society promotes. And I advocate for the burning of that. Let's just be real. So I'm hoping one day that we can burn that idea down to the ground because I think it's destructive as we're seeing it right now. And also with AMC, I'm not at all sympathetic for them because they're not going to be the worst off of this. It's independent small movie owners, theater owners. that this is going to affect, ultimately, because it's just further pushing them out of the market. And that is disgusting. Now, next up, we have Mulan. And the announcement that it is going to skip theaters in the US and in the UK and in some other parts. Debut on Disney Plus for a $30 purchase. It's going to be a $29.99 purchase to unlock Mulan for Disney Plus subscribers only. Once you've paid, you can watch the movie as many times and it remains unlocked so long as you remain subscribed to the service Disney Plus. The film will still play in theaters that are either open or in areas where Disney Plus is not available. Except the UK, because the UK, they're opened and they have Disney Plus, and I guess fuck them, right? Bob Chapek calls the move an experiment. UK exhibitors are pissed. Call it a fuck you. Literally, quote unquote. Phil Clapp, head of the UK Cinema Association, says, they're driving everything for themselves, taking all the revenue. They're not interested in collaborating. We need each other. It's supposed to be a partnership, quote unquote, which is what you just said, Alexis. Mm-hmm. Doug Stone, president of Box Office Analyst, says, every exhibitor I have contact with feels like this is a sucker punch to the gut, quote unquote. A poll by Variety asked fans if they would pay the $30. This is a Twitter poll, not a scientific poll, just to be clear with you. Around 94,000 votes or so. 85% said no. So there's a lot of layers with this story, from the idea in and of itself, this experiment, how it can go, from the theater owners being rightfully pissed in some ways, to how weird it ranges. Like in some countries it will be on Disney Plus, but if your theater is open, then it'll play there. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a weird duo release from VOD to theatrical. And then also to the Disney fans who are fucking pissed about having to pay $30 over the. By the way, how much is a Disney Plus subscription now? I forget what the number is. Is it $10?
Yeah, it's been the same. It hasn't changed.
Okay. So it's... Yeah, all right. So there's a lot of layers to this, Alexis. Give us your take on this.
Where do you begin? Because, adding on to that, there's also, people who are boycotting this movie.
Oh my god.
Which is insane.
By the way, it's just... I think we should... I want to take the lead and start off by saying this, because I feel that it's not being said enough, or at all, in some, larger circles than us, obviously. To me, the biggest casualty out of all of this is the Asian American community being robbed of a theatrical,
100%,
monumental
which is
event.
Okay.
What, you're going to throw Black Widow under the bus now?
Yeah.
Great.
They should have done Black Widow. I am sorry, but I think that they should have, it makes sense because Mulan was the next movie to come out,
Yeah.
But I feel like, we've said this before, I feel like now is the moment where we need Mulan, and they should have just skipped it.
Especially since you have the president on a daily basis referring to Corona as the China virus, which is a racist term, by the way.
Yes. So I personally think that they should have gone with Black Widow.
I agree if it was an either or situation, but I would make an argument that both of them should have deserved a theatrical release. With Wonder Woman too, because I know that's WB. Yeah. But there's two communities I feel that I think should feel robbed. That is, of course, the Asian community for not having this mostly, if not all, Asian cast in a big blockbuster. But also, this was the summer that should have been for the girls, this was the time where instead of having a female lead in a big movie like once a year or once every other year, the 3 biggest movies this summer should have been Mulan, Black Widow, and Wonder Woman. That's unprecedented in Hollywood to commit this much to female-led projects.
Yeah.
And that's gone. And once again, they get the shaft.
Yeah. And, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, to me, I feel like Mulan had more on its shoulders because of just, what's going on. Not saying that Black Widow didn't have the same, but I just think that, because we do have Wonder Woman, and, it's fine.
Yeah.
Now, keeping it just with Disney, they only had these 2 movies in Soul. For sure, they're not gonna release Soul. It was literally...
I don't know. Okay, let's be real about that. Can we say for sure that Soul and Black Widow aren't next? I think they kind of may be.
No. I'm saying, but like right
first.
now. Yes.
Oh, first. Okay,
first,
yeah.
And so I just think that Black Widow would have been the best thing to do, but they're not. So it's Mulan. Okay, so yeah, that was my thing with that one. And then the whole people boycotting this movie, I understand. I completely understand where they're coming from, but I think that because of what's been going on, I think people should maybe not put it aside, but think of the bigger picture and just think, this is an Asian... This is for the Asian community.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what should be the sole focus, because this entire year has just been shit for them. You know what I mean?
On top of, reality not being that much better regardless. Yeah. Let's be real about that.
Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I am. But I just think, just think of,
I don't think you are. And let me be real here. Like, we're not, of course, of this community. We have Kyle. Yeah. Kyle's in the community. Because, by default, he is. But it just feels more personal, I think, to me, because, this isn't about me, of course, but I feel like more empathy for them, because I was involved in a project that was about Asian American actors not being seen on the big screen because Hollywood doesn't hire them. And even as it's on YouTube, by the way, just look up See Us. It's a short form documentary that I did with actors who are Asian American and have had doors slammed in their face or stereotyped to be only one kind of character, and the statistics of how Hollywood has basically shut them out, where I think it was only just 1% of all leads in any Hollywood movie are Asian American. So that should tell you a lot. And I can understand, I feel, what they must be going through, because they were so looking forward to. They were so excited when I spoke to that community about Crazy Rich Asians and the fact that everyone was celebrating that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Mulan is going to be a big, big part of that.
Yeah.
In so many ways. And now, not only are they not going to have that experience, but it kind of feels like a step backward when you have fucking, this racist prick spreading shit about a China virus or a Wuhan virus, or like, it's just so disgusting. It feels like instead of this being a celebratory event, they're not only just being openly attacked, blamed by the president for this virus. And I'm disappointed in some circles who cover this industry and not making more of an emphasis about this.
Yeah.
We shouldn't ignore them. We shouldn't perpetuate Hollywood ignoring them, I feel. I think it's irresponsible.
Yeah. So that's my thing on, people boycotting it. Now, people, I don't know, what are the last 2 things are basically, Disney doing this and the effects that it'll have with movie theaters. It's unfortunate, it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I am happy that they are at least, releasing it in theaters, not here, you know. I think that, because I originally thought that they weren't gonna do that, which I was
At
like,
all.
ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know about that. So I'm happy that they are. With
For the
UK,
ones that are getting it.
Yeah, with the UK, I don't know. I don't know why they're not doing it there.
I think they fucked
weird.
up.
I think that they did fuck up there. Maybe they'll change it, There's still a couple weeks left, But I don't know.
They didn't even tell them in time. They just kind of like... That was... I mean, that's just unprofessional and rude.
Yeah.
But, like, that's not Disney's, like, MO. They're pretty open about what they're going to do. They have a pretty comfy relationship with all the exhibitors, so I don't understand what that was about. Even the Disney UK team was blindsided by this decision. So, like, I don't know what happened.
Maybe the news got leaked. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's, like, I don't know. It sucks. And I don't agree with that.
I mean, they're open. They should get the movie.
Yeah.
And it feels like the only places that are, as they said, most of the places that are going to be getting it out of default is because they don't have Disney Plus available. So it is, from the exhibitor's point of view, what Disney did was messed up. At the very least, they should have been notified, and there should have been some concessions made, especially with the UK, considering that they are open for business and they are taking precautions. And there should have been like a midway point where, at the very least, they should have met them halfway. We're like, we'll have it available for Disney Plus in the UK as well, but we'll also release it in theaters at a courtesy to you. There's a middle ground there that could have been met, but they didn't choose to do that. So that's disappointing. On the other hand, with Disney, overall, as far as this experiment here in the US primarily is concerned,
I think it's very smart.
You understand it, and it is very shrewd. You're right. They're losing so much money out of every department. I think even from
everything. Like the only
parks.
thing I can think of is like Shop Disney.
The parks the park in Orlando has opened, but traffic has been slow, and so I can only imagine that's been disappointing to them that people really aren't gonna go to Disney World. It seems like for the most part. So this felt like something they just needed to do for themselves because they were feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
This is a smart decision in terms of you're driving revenue for the movie almost exclusively to yourself, pretty much, in the form of it being on Disney Plus, but you're also driving more traffic and potentially more subscribers to Disney Plus. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone here, because Disney Plus is the only thing going in your favor, it seems like, and it is smart to grow Disney Plus and perhaps make more capital on it now than it would have been in a few years down the road. So it is a win-win from that perspective on Disney's side of it. But it all depends if people are going to pay the $30.
Yes. So that's the thing that gets me really upset. People, jeez. Okay. I'm just going to say I'm going to pay for this movie. I think that for multiple reasons. I want to support, this is the first movie that's coming out in 6 months. Like, that was supposed to be a theater release.
Right. A big movie, let's be real.
A big movie.
Yeah.
It's not Trolls.
Or Scoop.
Or Scoop. So I want to support that. Also, yes, it's Disney. But in general, I think if it was gonna be, I don't know, let's say if it was Wonder Woman, I would have paid for Wonder Woman. You know what I mean?
You want to support that. You also want to support that an Asian movie is successful.
I want to support an Asian movie for the Asian community at a time where the Asian community is being very, very much shitted on every single day.
Right. And it's important for, that kind of a movie to be successful in any sense. That way we can get more of those movies being made. And hopefully, and this is maybe one of the another reason why I would want this to be successful is if it's as good as we hope it is, it's this is another part of it that's disappointing because I really believed Mulan would have easily made $1 billion in the theaters and it would have been an
100%.
international success.
This would have easily been Black Panther success.
And the thing is,
it's so upsetting.
It's upsetting because like this is the first live action in years where they didn't just copy the movie entirely.
Yes!
And they took any kind of risks. They had creative deviations from the original source material of that film. And they didn't make it a musical. And they didn't have Mushu in it. And they didn't have the songs. And they made it more of an action adventure China movie. Oh my, we'll get to that. But the point is, it's important that Disney sees that you can be successful with a live-action remake and not copy the movie, literally all of it. And you can take deviations, and you can make different versions, and you can make adaptations.
Yes. It's so... Oh my god, it gets me so bad. But yes, all of those reasons, yes. Also, it's $30. When you look at Disney Plus, you subscribe to it, 10 different screens can be using one account, right? That's a lot. So
that's a lot.
10 different screens. Let's say you share it with your entire family. Let's say, it's your family of 4 people. It's your cousin who has another 4 people. And then it's your other cousin who's another 4 people. How many people is that? Like they're already losing so much money just releasing it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of money that they're losing. They are getting some of it, but they're not gonna get all of it back. And so what? That's like 24 people. How much is a movie ticket? It's like $8-10. Some places it's more.
There's a lot more in some places. A lot more.
Like, I don't understand. The movies that I just bought were $35. You think I'm not gonna pay $30 to watch a movie?
Well, I mean, let's be real. We're the kind of like freaks that
is
are
true,
willing to buy physical media $35.
And I understand, and I'm not, judging people who, can't afford it right now. Completely not the point.
Of course not, no. That's not really, I think...
We're in a freaking pandemic. It's fine. Yeah. But for those people complaining, $30, it's too much. It really is not too much. It really is not. I
feel like all the people complaining about that are, single and don't have families. Because if you're coming at this in the perspective of a 4-member family, this is a gift to you. To be able to pay only $30 for a movie.
And because when you go to the movies, you buy a ticket, you buy food. That's $30 already.
No, that's $100. If you're a family of 4,
people, that's $60. Right. I don't understand.
No, that's a lot more money. If you're a family that regularly goes to the movies, you know that it is an expense. It is an expense of upwards of $80 to $100 easily, depending on where you live, just to go see one movie, just for one day. And so from that perspective, it is a considerable deduction in price.
Yes.
I imagine, though, even with what you just said, even if you're concerned with $30, well, if I'm going to be sharing this movie or this account with others, ask them to chip in. I don't know, pay if you're 10 people, I don't know, chip in $3, $4. Guess how much the price goes down for your own pocket sense,
Yeah.
So,
and 30, oh my god, the thing that pissed me off that I saw, which you actually brought it up, was boy. I saw some people commenting, I'll just wait till it's pirated. Are you kidding me? Are you serious right now? Oh my god, that's
Here's the thing.
So annoying.
Here's the thing. I feel like Disney fans in general are already pretty entitled. And so they feel like they're owed this movie by virtue of just having a Disney Plus subscription. These people don't understand this business, and these people feel so entitled by this company that they feel that they're owed the movie for free, basically, by just paying for Disney Plus, when they don't realize, or I think much less even care, how much money Disney would lose. They're far more angry about paying $30 than the fact that theater owners are going to go out of business. Just putting that shit out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we have this mentality in America where they just feel robbed by having to pay more in any kind of sense. And I feel like it's a hurdle for people to seemingly justify spending $30 on top of $10 for this movie. And in a lot of circles on social media, which we're sharing with each other, and this is a different layer to this, Disney fans and the complaints that they have for this movie, the fact that they're not getting a shot-for-shot remake, the fact that they're not getting Mushu, the fact that they're not getting songs, is justification for them to teach a lesson to Disney to make this movie fail, I think makes a perfect case study for why Disney fans should never be listened to when it comes to making a movie. Because not only do they not understand or care about the business, and for the small guy being left out and being pushed out of the market, they don't even care enough about the creativity. They just want the same thing repackaged and repurposed, and they are a cancer when it comes to cinema. It's just the way that it is. The fact that look at between Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Lion King, all of them billion-dollar films, all of them inferior remakes of the original films. And it's so disgusting even further when we come to find out that in the last 2 weeks, the original directors, the creators for Beauty and the Beast, the 1992 movie, or 91 movie, that got nominated for Best Picture, the first animated movie in history to get Best Picture nomination, did not get a fucking dime from that remake. The billion-dollar remake is disgusting. And Disney fans, I don't think could be bothered to care. So that's my little take on why Disney fans, I feel, are problematic, because they don't seem to care at all when it comes to real people being affected as a consequence of this consumerism. And they also don't understand consumerism. Consumerism never benefits the consumer. I mean, you're always being nickeled and dimed. You're willing to pay all this money whenever you go to. I mean, if you're a person who is willingly going to pay full price to go to Disney World, but complains about paying $30 for Mulan, you need to get your priorities in check. Let me just tell you that. Because you got ripped off going to Disney World. Let's just be real. In the middle of a pandemic, much less. But with all of the things being closed or run down or shut down or no shows, that's a special kind of episode that we don't have time for. But yeah, let me run down here though, that how successful can this movie be? And it depends on a certain percentage of Disney Plus subscribers actually paying the $30, right? So this was done by Exhibitor Relations, the Twitter feed, the Twitter handle ERC box office. So Disney Plus has around 60 million subscribers. Here's the Mulan breakdown for how this will work. Remember, 100% goes to Disney per $29.99 purchase. So if just 5% of Disney Plus subscribers, that's 3 million, pay the $30, the movie makes $90 million. If 10% of Disney Plus subscribers, that's 6 million, people pay the $30, 180 million. If 25%, which equals to 15 million subscribers, pay this money, it's $480 million in revenue. If 40%, which is 24 million subscribers, pay the $30, it will equal to $720 million. Best case scenario, it's at 40% or over for Mulan. 40% of Disney Plus subscribers are over. That's not terrible, considering. It's actually pretty good considering that they don't have to split this money up with the exhibitors. It's all them.
Yeah.
So there's a decent shot that this can actually make more money for them right now than it would if it was in theaters. But again, no one knows how this is going to go. What we do know is we're seeing the outrage, we're seeing the resistance, and it seems that most people are not going to pay. At least the ones who are responding to these polls and the loud people on social media will see. But it seems as if most of them are not going to. So if 85% of Disney Plus subscribers don't do this, it may make, at the very least, less than $480 million, which I don't know. I mean, at this point, Disney has to feel as if they're just cutting their losses with what the reality of this is going to be. There is the hope that this could be a tremendous success for them. However, this is just a question for you. We just laid out reasons for why this should be successful, why we hope that this movie is a success. Are there any reasons why we hope this fails? Do you think that if, for example, if this does become an extraordinary success for Disney, I feel like that all but guarantees that Soul and Black Widow are going to be the next to go on this model, and that's going to further punch the independent and smaller, any movie theater, basically. So, like, is that good for the industry?
I want to believe that they would not completely... Like, my fear, which is I think what you're trying to ask too, is... Are they just going to stop it with movie theaters if it becomes successful?
If it blows away expectations,
the window that they have for this to be successful is so small right now. I don't think, like, I mean, I obviously hope that it is. I don't think it's going to exceed it, but I don't know. Like, I don't think that they would completely cut ties with movie theaters.
I don't believe so either. That's why I was surprised. Like, I feel like maybe for Soul and Black Widow, that may just happen regardless because of the situation that we're in. Although, like, I feel like those movies will be profitable whenever you release them.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why even Mulan, which is, I think what ended up being the final tipping point was the fact that they were crushed. They were crushed. They had nothing else to do. Yeah. They needed to make money somewhere. So that's kind of what happened. And the fact that Disney said no, or didn't even respond to AMC's offer, suggests that there still remains an interest in the theatrical experience. They know that they need movie theaters. They only make big budget movies. They need those theaters to be open. However, with the next story that we'll get into, there could be a situation where they could just buy the theaters themselves, and that's a whole different mess in and of itself. We should mention, though, another dark horse component to this, right? So, about how many Disney Plus subscribers would have to pay the $30 for it to be successful? Okay, well, we had this conversation off air, and we need to bring it here. Well, we know that the instant it's uploaded on Disney Plus, which is going to come out September 4th. September the 4th, people. As with any movie that's ever a PVOD, it's going to get pirated. And it'll be literally in an instant on 123 Movies or whatever other place you go and, like, pirate films or stream them. So if you're that person who is complaining about paying $30, not that I'm advocating for you to do this, because I don't, but if you were smart about wanting to teach Disney a lesson, you wouldn't pay that at all, and you just go watch it on whatever pirate site you want to, because that's just what's going to happen. And even if you're not angry about the $30, let's say you're like neutral to it, why would you pay $30 if you could just pirate it. On top of that, let's say you're not, of course, we don't condone an act of piracy, although in this case, piracy itself can be the right course. I'm kidding, of course. No, I'm not saying that at all.
Oh my God.
I know. I just wanted to put that in there. It was a fun line. By the way, Jonathan Pryce is amazing. I love him as an actor. Catch him in The Crown, season 5 and 6. Just announced. Whilst, if you're a Disney Plus subscriber that doesn't want to pay it, if you don't want to pirate the movie, why not just wait until it's available as an inclusion instead of paying a premium price for it? The difference here is, and we should also clarify, people are also just used to like renting movies for like $15-$20. And so this is also another outrage of that.
It's a premiere, though.
It's a premiere, and it's also not like a rental where like you have like these limitations of how many times you can watch it and how long you have it. You have it for as long as you want. You can watch it as many times as you want, so long as you remain subscribed to Disney Plus, right? So, but it is an interesting question. It's like, if you don't want to pay the $30, you don't have to. There are other ways to see this for free, basically, if that's your main priority. So that's a potential dark horse in this. Like, I wonder how much of that is going to like be a factor in how successful or not this is going to be.
I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
I wonder if they thought of this too.
I mean, I'm sure they have to, because like it's so easy. It's so easy to just like watch a movie on a pirate site or on a streaming site that has these things. It just is. It's actually even easier than like, because there are some versions where someone literally sneaks a camera in there and like records the movie in the theater, but now they can just like, oh, I have it right here on my computer. Let me just download this, or find something where I can like record what I'm seeing on my computer and then just dump it on some like pirate site. We'll see.
Crazy. I don't know. This whole thing just like bothers me.
Well, anything else on this? Because we're about to get a little bit more bothered here. With our third story here, a federal judge has given the green light to the Department of Justice to terminate the 71-year-old consent decrees that have restricted major studio control over the exhibition process. Just to be clear with some like jargon here, exhibition means movie theaters, just to be clear about that in case you weren't aware. What this does is it clears the way for studios to take significant ownership of theater chains like AMC, Regal, Cinemark, or the ones who are most in danger, the small independent movie theaters. To quote here, U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres, who made this decision, because changes in antitrust law and administration have diminished the importance of the decrees, restrictions, blah, blah, blah. I'm not reading the whole quote because it's bullshit. I just wanted to put that out there as to like why she's wrong, and I'll explain why she's wrong right now. I call it a blanket statement that she says that, oh, technology is around now and the internet's a thing. And it wasn't around back then when this was established in 1941 or 1948 or whatever. And they're outdated now, so we got to get rid of it. This is so frustrating. And I find it intellectually insulting. This is a U.S. District Federal Judge. And she could not have literally found a more stupid reason to do this. Even in the words that she said. She said, changes in antitrust law. Antitrust laws were created, decades ago to prevent large conglomerates from merging, acquiring, into forming a monopoly on industry. That, and of course, to protect workers. That's a big component of this as well. The suggestion that in 2020, we have strong antitrust laws is so intellectually insulting when just a few years ago we had Disney purchase 20th Century Fox for $75 billion, which resulted in at least 10,000 people losing their jobs for a start. Which, by the way, no one seems to ask, why the fuck did they buy that for? What are they using that for? It's not none of the Fox library is on Disney Plus, unless at some point they're planning on adding a Fox label. I mean, they should. They need more stuff on Disney Plus.
I don't understand why they haven't. It's.
I
guess like X-Men. They're doing X-Men.
If you
now.
just wanted X-Men and Avatar, Peter and I had a perfect proposition when this whole thing was happening. Have an auction. Strip down the studio you're going to go under and have the studios bid for what properties they want. If all you wanted was X-Men and Avatar, okay, you probably would have won that. But everything else you're clearly not using in any way whatsoever. You've demolished studios, you've fired people, just wholesale firings, and you're not using this library at all. And so, I don't know what that merger was even ultimately for, or what good it did, but also, hey, if you didn't spend that $75 billion on Fox, you probably would be in a better shape right now with this pandemic. Let's be real about that. And also, if you're not, we all thought that when they purchased Fox, they would use that to empower and supercharge Disney Plus, but they're not.
Mm-hmm. So
what was the point? I don't see it. It's not being used, so we don't know what the ultimate point was to that. On top of that, so that merger having happened clearly suggests that antitrust laws are teethless, I guess if you want to say. Universal, was acquired by Comcast, and then just recently we had AT&T and Time Warner merged together to make Warner Media, which now is the new conglomerate that owns Warner Brothers. Which again, recently, as these last 2 weeks, has resulting in, again, wholesale firings of HBO Max, of Warner Media in general, and DC Comics. The leadership is gone. The legacy is gone. The comic book industry is already going down as it is, as long as the physical media and theaters, as in general, but they're transitioning now to comics being more and more on digital and less being manufactured and printed. So there are whole industries and people's lives that are being destroyed because of a lack of antitrust laws. And the suggestion that we have strong antitrust laws by this federal judge is insulting and beyond moronic, when that clearly isn't the case. Because what you do, you justify your reasoning with having strong antitrust laws. But what you do basically is you're throwing the theaters to the wolves here.
Mm-hmm.
And the Paramount Consent Decrees wasn't just about studios, being able to not purchase basically movie theaters as their own, but block booking, which was a thing where, like, if you wanted to have a movie by a certain studio, you had to agree to it without watching the movie. And also you had to agree with it while also agreeing to play 10 other movies that you wouldn't otherwise want. These kind of manipulations, the Paramount Consent Decrees was established to mark the end of the old Hollywood studio system, which was a cancer, which was a monopoly.
Yeah.
And so, just because so much time has passed and we have the internet
doesn't
now,
mean that it can't happen again.
When so many industries are monopolizing as we speak. Like, what the fuck? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever unless you were paid and bought for, which, it could be the case. Let's just be real. And of course, I feel like any movie-themed podcast or show is doing a disservice to the story if they're not mentioning this fact. When they're just saying, oh, the government is doing this. No. Donald Trump and his Attorney General William Barr and his conservative Republican administration is calling for the end of this because they're just against any kind of antitrust. They're against any kind of regulation because it does not coincide with their conservative ideology. That is relevant in this story. That's why they want it gone, because they want more monopoly. They want more mergers. They want more acquisitions. It's just plain as simple. And it's the same approach that conservatives, it's so hilarious to me that conservatives, derive from the name of conservation when they're so against it in general. It's the same kind of mentality that Supreme Justice John Roberts used to strike down a key component of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. It was pre-clearance. And he said that Southern states aren't racist anymore. We've progressed so beyond the 1960s that we can't hold the Southern states to a different standard. We can't expect them to immediately, do poll taxes and shit like that again. Of course, we do have a modern version of poll taxes. It's called voter ID laws, in which conservatives target minorities to prevent them from voting in elections because minorities voting hurt them in elections. So he used that logic to strike down a key part of the 1965 Voting Rights Act and empowered the Southern, and he used states' rights. He used states' rights, which always means something racist, I want to say. So this is consistent with conservative ideology in tearing down the fabric of America. It's as simple as that. Oh, and if you're one of those neoliberals that prides themselves on bipartisanship, well, congratulations. This is a key act of bipartisanship and why the Democrats are corrupt. Because this judge, Annalise Torres, was appointed by Barack Obama. So this is an example, I feel, of conservative and neoliberal ideology policies further destroying this country and further destroying this film industry. You cannot separate politics and ideology from the history of the film industry, because we should say that the 1940 whatever Paramount Consent Decrees was, in a sense, being stripped down by the Reagan administration when they were getting rid of every regulation. Every film class teaches you this. Every regulation was being torn away because Reagan, just blanket conservatism, doesn't like any kind of regulation on any business because it hinders business making or money making or whatever. And what that happened is we went from nearly 100 different companies to all of them being basically merged and dwindled down to like 4 or 5 major like conglomerates own everything. Mm-hmm. It is on every level just idiotic to be in favor of this. It reeks of crony capitalism. It reeks of corruption because the only people this benefits are those at the top, really. So, we can acquire it, because now basically what this does is this gives license to WB and Universal and Disney to buy Regal or Cinemark or any of the smaller independent ones. Now, some people are saying, and rightfully so, that because of the pandemic, they're not in a position to acquire anything at the moment. But at some point they will be. Mm-hmm. And who's to say they won't? Because now they can.
Yep. And that's not good.
Tell me, why do you feel that's really not good?
I mean, it's just...
I agree with you.
Because I feel like, this is like me being, I don't know, sentimental. I don't know. It's supposed to be like a culmination of all of them. You know what I mean? Like, they're all supposed to be there. And you can spend a whole day there. You can go watch a scary movie and then go watch a Disney movie and then go watch, I don't know, whatever else there is. You know what I mean? Like, it's...
Mm-hmm.
And this can take that away. This can make him, oh, let's go watch a Disney movie. You have to go to this specific place. You know what I mean? It's not good.
Yeah. It also just doesn't make any sense because conservatives and these capitalists pride and they revere capitalism because of the free market and competition. And you know what? What I agree with capitalism is competition is a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing for us when we have so many options. Mm-hmm. But this is not... This doesn't service that. This is against it. You're limiting our options. And you're making things far more... I mean, this is just basically turning this industry into a complete monopoly at this point. You know?
Yeah.
And, like, when you combine this with the Mulan stuff and the Universal AMC things, like, if you're a small independent movie theater, call it quits. You're done. You're fucking done. It's over.
Laughing but crying inside.
Yeah, I'm like Bill Paxton and Aliens. Game over, man. Game over. I mean, that's kind of how things are. And congratulations, it was the corporations that fucked you. In a way, the consumers are also fucking you. And the government also fucked you over. So, you're welcome, I guess? You reap what you sow? I don't know. It's so disheartening and depressing. Also, moving on to HBO Max. They're in fucking hot water because, and I'm sorry if I'm using the word fuck a lot in this podcast. I just am angry with the nature of these stories, but it's just the truth. So, HBO Max has found itself to be in a very perilous situation. So, they only have 4.1 million subscribers after 2.5 months after launch. That is pathetic. Only, Peacock. Peacock. No, Peacock launched 2 weeks ago, and they have 10 million. How many? What was your question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How much does Quibi have?
I can show you. So let me just reveal the numbers with you all right now. I have this figure that was released, I feel, by Bloomberg, and they did an estimate of how many subscribers the streamers have. So Quibi has the lowest with 2 million, which is actually kind of sad. So HBO Max only has 2 million more subscribers than Quibi, which is like one of the biggest disasters this industry has ever seen. It is awful. Peacock and Apple TV Plus have 10 million subscribers each. CBS All Access has 13 million subscribers. I don't even know anybody who uses that, except if you're like a Star Trek fan. Hulu has 32 million subscribers. Disney Plus at this point has 60 million subscribers. Amazon Prime Video, 150 million subscribers, which I wouldn't have expected, but I guess we should, because Prime Video is pretty much included for anyone that has a Prime subscription, which is primarily for like mail delivery. Mm-hmm. So I guess that kind of, and it may increase now that, the president has fucked over the post office. So, that's... Jeez. I know, seriously. And Netflix is on top with 193 million subscribers. So, that gives you, I think, the range of where we are. But, like, HBO Max is cratering. It is terrible. And then also on top of that, only 5% of HBO TV subscribers who are eligible for a free transferring over to HBO Max. Free! Have transferred. Only 5% have bothered to transfer over.
Because you can't use it anywhere.
I'll get to that right now. That's out of a total of 30 million existing HBO subscribers. And another 10 million who get HBO through AT&T cable. So like you have a potential 40 million pot to pick from. Only 5% have gone over to HBO Max. And also, well, there's a lot of other issues we'll get into, but we should also say that HBO Max chief content officer and the marketing and communications person were fired in the last 2 weeks, and I think for good reason, because fuck, they screwed everything over. But you were getting at, which was they're not on Roku and they're not on Fire Stick, right?
Yep.
I use Fire Stick. You use Fire Stick. Kyle uses Roku. Peter uses Roku. And it's not on there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, how did Peacock get to 10 million? They're not on Roku and Fire Stick either. And HBO Max is floundering at fucking 4 million. It's weird. But you're right. Like, it is so stupid. Because mostly everyone uses either Fire Stick, more so Roku. And you don't have the app on there? That would explain why no one's watching it. It's just, I mean, I can watch HBO Max because my Samsung Smart TV has its own store of apps. And so I installed the HBO Max app directly to my TV versus through my Fire Stick. Yeah. So I perhaps am like getting the most out of this, whereas others have to like plug in their HDMI cable from their laptop to their TV, which can be annoying. So like, I get it, but it's also, it's been a series of terrible headlines for them. They've lost their DC movies, most of them like 2 weeks after launch. They just lost all the Harry Potter movies. And there's no content on there. There's no signature show. The closest thing they have is the Looney Tunes, which are which is good and are popular. But like what you would think would be the big show would be Doom Patrol. That was a big show for DC Universe. The problem is DC Universe is still a thing. And most people who watch Doom Patrol are watching it on DC Universe. Which is airing, I mean, what? You should have made that an exclusive for HBO Max if you wanted the traffic to be on there. So, like, this rollout
they literally had everything handed to them on a platter, and they just dropped it completely.
No, this is just squandered opportunity after squandered opportunity. This rollout is a unmitigated disaster in every way whatsoever. All the things you promised are not even there. Like, to me, the only thing worth having HBO Max for is that it costs the same as an HBO subscription. And you're getting HBO, but with more content. And there are some shows that you might have access to. But really, the HBO content is the crown jewel of what you're getting with HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
Succession, Watchmen, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Game of Thrones, Chernobyl, all that stuff. But HBO Max has been floundering. I think what you're going to see happen is they need to, first and foremost, destroy DC Universe entirely, move over Doom Patrol and Harley Quinn, and put it on Fire Stick and Roku. That's where you should start if you want to build up. I think that Harley Quinn and Doom Patrol are shows that are streaming shows, that are signature shows, that are your DC stuff. It should be there anyway. I hope that they're not going to like cut those shows short because they're not, driving traffic to HBO Max. Nothing can drive traffic to it when no one can use the app.
Yeah.
Let alone the name confusion. HBO Max, HBO Go, HBO Now, HBO who? Like, which one's which?
Yeah.
I felt the name was actually brilliant, capitalizing on the brand of HBO. But they probably should have significantly downsized HBO Go, HBO Now, and just make it one, maybe. I don't know. Like, they need to consolidate all of these streamers, basically.
It's too much.
Have you used it?
No.
You haven't seen a single thing on there?
Well, when I went to my friend's house, that's it. Because they have Apple TV. But like me myself, no.
Yeah, it's kind of bombing. So yeah, there's that.
Like
Alright.
the only thing that I wish I had was Friends, and that's it. Everything else, like, I'm fine.
Yeah. Oh well. Moving on to the Emmy Awards. The Mandalorian, having a hard time saying this, was nominated for 15 Emmy Awards, including Best Drama Series. I hate it here. Let me just mention, though, the shows that got other shows that were that were very much nominated for multiple categories: Watchmen, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, Ozark, Succession, Saturday Night Live, Schitt's Creek, The Crown, Hollywood, Westworld, Handmaid's Tale, Miss America, RuPaul's Drag Race, John Oliver, Morning Shows, Stranger Things, What We Do in the Shadows, Better Call Saul, Queer Eye, The Good Place, Tiger King, The Voice, Big Little Lies, Trevor Noah, Little Fires Everywhere, The Politician, Star Trek Picard, This Is Us, Will and Grace. And The Mandalorian got nominations such as Best Guest Actor for Giancarlo Esposito playing Moff Gideon, Taika Waititi voicing IG, whatever the name was, for a voicing category. Here's what I'll say. I'll start with the positives. All the nominations that it got for the craft, the craft awards, like for visual effects and for sound and for production design, those are well deserved. Yeah, because it is a groundbreaking TV show when it comes to that aspect. No question. Everything else is infuriating. First of all, I'm so happy to see Stranger Things not getting forgotten, and that season 3, which I loved, got nominated for Best Drama Series, which it should have, I feel, because people forget that show. It seems like, I know it's been gone for like over a year, but The Mandalorian, Best Drama, I mean, that one really pissed me off. I just feel like the reason why it pissed me off is because I think, Moreno, you and I are the same, where when it comes to these guilds, these awards, the Oscars, the Emmys, at least I fancy myself as a champion for more populist movies and shows getting nominated, getting love. More shows and movies that are what would be considered blockbusters, action, horror, genre. I want to see more of those kind of movies and shows be included in industry recognition. But I feel like every single fucking time they recognize one of those like really popular properties, it's always something that I find to be a property that I can't make any sense out of why they think that this is good or why they like it. It is popular, but it's always something that pisses me off. I'll give you examples. I mean, Black Panther, okay, I don't want to cause any waves here. In some ways, I understand that the most because of the cultural impact that it had. But aside from that, we had Infinity War that year, which was a much better film, and then what's even better than all those was Into the Spider-Verse, which featured a black lead, by the way. Arguably the best movie that year, arguably, and let me just be real with you, so that wasn't there. But yeah, Black Panther was nominated. Bohemian Rhapsody was nominated. Joker was nominated for Best Picture. And now here with the Emmys, we have The Mandalorian. And in all of those examples, it's just infuriating. Like, I think that there are those movies and shows out there that should be recognized, for the achievement of being, so popular in some way,
Mm-hmm.
But all of the things that they nominate literally
are just
piss.
nuts.
They're nuts. Thank you. What the fuck is this?
I'm sorry. I did not like this show. I thought it was so boring. I fell asleep during the first episode. I just didn't like it. Like, I get the obsession with Baby Yoda, because, dang.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just didn't like it. And it upsets me because was Clone Wars nominated? That should have been nominated. I don't get it.
No, not even considered. And according to a recent study, The Clone Wars was by far the second most streamed anything behind The Mandalorian. The problem with The Mandalorian as a show is that, again, we want to complement the groundbreaking nature of its effects and its sound design and how it's made. Of course, the costumes and everything. It looks great. The problem with Mandalorian is from a creative and a writing standpoint.
There was... What? Didn't they, run out of costumes at one point? And they asked cosplayers to go and be in the show?
Yeah, they
Which,
did.
not knocking them down, that's still a craft and stuff.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah.
Did they actually get nominated for costume design?
I gotta be honest, I don't know. Maybe.
But 15, they might as well have.
Yeah. 15 nominations. I didn't see what they all were, but I would imagine it did. And it's just so I don't know. There are way better shows with such smaller budgets. It's just something. Part of the thing that gets me annoyed with Mandalorian is that it has such an amazing budget for a television show, but it doesn't, I feel, capitalize on that, because you can have you can tell that yeah, you're right about the whole they didn't budget in for all these different stormtroopers, or they had to call in the 501st, which they're professional cosplayers. They do all this stuff with stormtroopers and everything, and they needed additional help with that. But it's just overrated in every sense of the word. I feel like this show gets a lot of praise just because it was the first live action Star Wars show, I feel. And it was it was a huge success with it being the debut of Disney Plus. And I think the Emmys, being the fucking attention whores that they are, wanted to really acknowledge Disney Plus in this kind of way. I just think this show is so incredibly deficient when it comes to the writing and the story, that it's unseemly of a best drama series. It really is, and it makes me a little angry at The Mandalorian, because they can be doing so much with all this money they have for a TV show, and yet the creative side is just so lacking.
Yeah.
And let me be clear, I think what's most disappointing is that that's what The Mandalorian is exactly what Star Wars fans want. It's just milquetoast, middle of the road, generic Star Wars procedural, and they think that's amazing.
Yeah.
And what's also so infuriating is that The Mandalorian is the first major Star Wars project in the Disney years that has been nominated for a major award. And it gives license to those fans that want to perpetuate the propaganda that the Disney Star Wars sequels were a failure, and that they were all bad, that they couldn't even get nominated for Best Picture, but The Mandalorian could, which means Mandalorian is better. to those people.
Oh, God.
So I think this does a lot of harm. Because it also just reinforces to Disney, yeah, we don't have to try with Star Wars. This is really all they want. And we're going to give them more of that.
But then you have something like Rise of the Skywalker, where they didn't really try, and it wasn't successful. At least, I think. Because everybody shits on it. I don't know.
Well, I think with Abrams is... No, let's give credit to Abrams. He was trying. I know, it's funny to say that. That was the problem, though. He was trying, and on top of it being boring, it was also shit. So the problem with Abrams is that he's shit, and so therefore it translated into the movie being shit. That sounds really rude to say. But it's like he, it's just, that's what happens when you get Abrams in a movie that's beyond like the original version of it, I guess.
Oh, I don't know. It's just, I mean, yeah, I agree with you that the technical stuff, 100%, they deserve it. But everything else, I cannot. It just show's boring. I'm sorry. It's so boring.
Yeah. Yeah, I was having, yeah. I don't know what to say. What else I can say, but yeah, that's kind of my feelings about it were. Season 2 should be more interesting, although that may not be...
me off too, Jesus
exactly,
Christ.
For a different reason, you know? So
oh
it's
my
like,
God. Yeah. It's more laziness. Like,
yep.
They can't come up with their own stuff.
Yep. Yeah. But again, that's what Star Wars fans want. The majority of them. So they're going to get what they want. So yay. Going on to our next story. Nia Dacosta, who is the director of the upcoming Candyman revival movie, has been recruited by Marvel Studios to direct Captain Marvel 2. And I think what's sad about this story, and I noticed this in some of the people who cover this and are successful at this, some of the big names out there in this industry, who are critics and review this stuff and cover the movie industry. What's sad is that they all said that no one really cared about this story. And it's sad because people not caring about this property in some way is a victory for the alt-right who planned a sabotage of this film because they had a female lead and because they hate Brie Larson because she's a feminist.
Yep.
And the fact that most people don't care about this movie is a victory in some small way for them. But it also is, sadly enough, justified because the movie itself was just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna say I'm actually excited about this story more so than any Disney Plus Marvel show, and more so than most of the movies coming up for this reason. I shouldn't be, but I'm gonna choose to be. I feel like on some level, they recognize, the people at Marvel, that Captain Marvel was a disappointment ultimately. That it had no identity, had nothing to say, and it was a generic movie. Mm-hmm. Even by their standards, which is saying a lot. And they've seen that translated into the fandom. She was cool in Endgame. She wasn't a character. She was a plot device. We don't really know who or her. She's had a movie and she's had an appearance in Endgame. We don't know who this character really is. And that's their fault. So it's important that they're hiring more female directors. And this is, a director of color as well. That's encouraging. They're listening. But I'm hopeful that they're getting her because they were so taken with Candyman. This is a horror director coming over to a superhero franchise, and there's a history of directors that come from horror doing amazing stuff with superhero movies, like James Wan in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah. The director of Shazam came from a background in history in horror. Who else?
Taika directed
Comedies, mostly, though. Yeah, he directed Thor.
What did I think he did? Okay, never mind.
What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah, but that's not...
That's not a horror movie. That's
Okay, never mind. Ignore what I just said.
We'll think of it. Oh, Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi came from horror movies, and he made the Spider-Man movies, the Spider-Man movies. So there is a track record there with that. So to me, I feel this signals an admission from Marvel that they need to do something to shake it up. It's indicative of what they would do in the early days of Phase 2, where they would, in the sequels to Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man, shake it up and get somebody else in there and have their own take on it, if you were. In Phase 3, that seemed to happen less and less, where they would just get the person who made the first or second movie to come back.
Is she the first female director for Marvel?
No. She's actually the third, technically speaking. So, well, with Captain Marvel, they also kind of got nobodies. Like, they got, no disrespect to them, but they weren't known for anything. I think it was Anna Boden. She was the co-director to Ryan Fleck. So even there, you had a guy be on there. But clearly they did. Same. It's not at all.
No.
Kate Shortland is the first. She's directing Black Widow, which we've yet to see.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So Nia Dacosta is the third female director for them. I believe the first black director they've had. African American, if you will.
Black Panther?
I forget that movie exists. Oh my god, you're right. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Black Panther. I legit forgot that movie existed. Wow, that's embarrassing. But I mean, I don't care for it, so there's that. But you're right. It is the second director of color, or black director, if you will, for Marvel. I just feel like this shows that they need to do something with Captain Marvel 2 to shake it up and to do something with it. And they need this movie to work. Yeah. They need this movie to be great to save this franchise, because it is disappointing that, look, this was the first female superhero led whatever, and it was such. I mean, everyone will say that it was fine, but for Marvel standards, that's really a disappointment.
Yeah.
The fact that it made $1 billion shows you how much appetite there was for this and how popular the MCU remains, but they can do so much better. And it's stuff like that it's stuff like this that makes me a little bit hopeful that Feige is taking time to reassess and taking a little bit more risks. Fingers crossed with Sam Raimi directing Doctor Strange. That came out of nowhere. I have such high hopes for that movie now. Mm-hmm. And now with Nia Dacosta doing Captain Marvel 2, I'm more excited for this movie now than I would be if they had just gotten the other people back for the second installment. So, like, there is, just these little signs of encouragement that they are taking a little bit of the feedback and they are trying to do better.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. Because, and we'll do an audio commentary, David and I, on Captain Marvel soon, and we'll get out all of our reasons for why that movie just didn't work. It's a complicated movie. There are parts of it that work, but they work on like the generic Marvel way, but then they kind of like, because it is a generic Marvel movie, it ultimately just flounders. Because there's no trying, there's no risk,
and it's a story, like,
yeah,
they just didn't really do anything with her, and she's so good, and it's such a waste.
Brie Larson's an amazing actor. She's an award-winning actor, and you're doing nothing with her. That's why, I'm hoping that with Nia Dacosta, she can give her a voice. She can give her an identity at the very least, you know? So yeah. That's kind of where we're at with this. So, anything else to say?
I'm excited. We'll see what happens. And yeah, it should have been a bigger news.
It should have been, but it wasn't. I was about to close, but I think we actually have one more story that I forgot to put on this list because I wrote it before. But Avatar is kind of a problem now, right? So, the creators of the Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra series were recruited by Netflix to do a live-action adaptation of the original show. But as of this week, that no longer seems to be the case. They left, and on
they
some
actually
pretty
left
hard,
like 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, so there were some pretty hard feelings, it seems like, and one of them going so far as to blast Netflix as a
not cooperative and supportive environment.
Which
is crazy.
Surprising. Yeah, that took me for a spin because that's just not what Netflix is known for, you know?
Yeah.
They're known for basically like letting you do whatever you want and giving you the money for it. So I don't understand what happened here.
I don't either. It's like, well, because me and David were talking about it, and he was saying that it's crazy that they're painting them, that the creators of The Last Airbender are painting them to be this way, because there was a show, I guess, that David had watched. I don't remember what it was called, but it was based off of a comic book. And that Netflix told the creator basically, like, do what you want. Like giving full range to that creator, you know? And it became, like, it came out really good. And they're known for doing that. So yeah. I don't know what could have happened.
It's just unusual, right? Because this is so unlike Netflix to behave that way. Yeah. If you know what they're saying is true.
And there are rumors of people saying that they wanted to cast, you know, white people and things like that. Which
Netflix?
I believe there is. I'm not saying that it's true. I'm saying that they're rumors.
Right.
I don't know. It's just what I told David is I think that maybe what happened is that the creators of The Last Airbender are so scarred with the movie that they're just completely 100% like super overprotective of it. Mm-hmm. And maybe they just clashed in that way. I don't know. And which, you know, seems kind of reasonable because they have 100% reason to be that way, you know, because it's their baby. Mm-hmm. It's, you know what I mean? And I don't know. But then also, you know, I think Peter's the one that said it. What if they went so far out of their way to make it different that Netflix is like, whoa, what are you doing?
Oh no, that would have been
and not like different as in like, you know, the characters and stuff. Just I don't know. Oh, also I also read that they wanted to cast white people. They wanted the characters to be older. Mm-hmm. They wanted to quote unquote sexualize them. Like I don't know what that means. Like just things like that, like make it more mature. And I mean, all the those creators things are like, no, like it's a kid's show. Oh, I don't know. There's just so many things out right now, and I don't know what is true, what isn't true. It's just it's so weird, and it sucks. Like I don't know. This was like their second chance to make it good, and they were actually a part of this because in the movie they were not a part of it. So I don't know.
Yeah, like the problem is though, there was no other option from a creative standpoint but to go out of your way and make this an adaptation, make changes, and make this fit more in a live action setting. So maybe Netflix has taken that maybe too far in that direction, or maybe they just wanted the same thing. How like Disney wants the live action remakes, and that gets into another. It brings back the debate of live action remakes and whether or not the shot for shot take twos are. Yeah, I don't know. I also don't even understand what the fan base even wants with this. Do they just want the same story but just in live action? Because if that's the case, well, you were never going to be happy either way.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same.
So, like, is this going forward? Are they continuing this without them?
Yeah.
Good luck.
I don't know.
Good luck.
I am hopeful that it's at least, they honor the cast.
Netflix has a great track record with TV shows and with adaptations. It would be so strange for them to just... I know.
They've had so little misses. I don't know. I feel like... And then especially after the reaction that, they got with the release of both shows,
yeah,
I don't see why they wouldn't go above and beyond for it. You know what I mean?
Or at the very least, pursue a third animated project with them.
Yeah.
Like to so cut weird. Ties with them. Like it's so weird that the show couldn't work, but to cut ties with them entirely, is awful. Because I think the easiest thing you could have done is more Avatar shows in this animated world.
But the thing is that they walked away. It's not that they got fired or anything. So what could they have done at that point? If they're so unhappy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, like you said, good luck.
Yeah, that it's just weird because I don't know how to feel about this either way.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I've seen people petition for Netflix to bring back the creators. But again, they walked away. It was their own decision. And they didn't take it lightly, No. Because again, this is their baby. They're not gonna mistreat it. And it's unfortunate that they had to walk away from it. I'm sure it breaks their hearts. And because this is, again, second time.
It's just this could do a lot of damage to this brand if they produce another live action outcome that is awful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what fans are just so scared about.
Yeah.
That they don't trust anybody else but the creators to do this right. But to me, it's what I would be really excited for is an Avatar live action series that was a new story.
That wasn't just story, yeah.
I would have loved to have seen this world in live action with the budget that we have, for the Mandalorian, basically. But again, why not just have them work on that? It just seems so fucking weird. There was so much potential in this. Netflix is looking for a franchise. That was your franchise.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Get them back.
It's so weird. It's so weird. I don't know. It's crazy. But
it's sad.
It is. It's really, really sad.
We needed any more sadness in this world.
Yeah. But
anyway, you can stream Legend of Korra now on Netflix.
Yay.
If I didn't make it any more awkward, but there it is.
Watch it. Even though everybody shits on it, but whatever.
Not everybody.
Most of the population.
Well, yeah, well. I'm ready to call it a day. How about you? Yep, that's kind of where we're at. Thank you all so much for listening to this. Thank you, Alexis, for being here. It was a wonderful conversation. I want to remind you all you can catch more content here under our big, beautiful red spotlight with The Legend of Korra coming at you pretty soon with our weekly reviews with Alexis Moreno, Peter Martinez, Kyle Lira, and David Francisco, along with myself. David and I are also doing the Beyond the Shield. We're going to talk about the series finale in the next episode. And we have audio commentaries live right now on Fantasy Fair with Zootopia, Tangled, and an upcoming one that I will not mention because if I say it again, it won't happen. So we'll see it. You'll see it live on there. We'll have reviews with Howard and a lot more content coming your way in the age of coronavirus. I appreciate you all for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.